Hey, what's up guys? We're back and today we have some more Animal Crossing content. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, today we're going to take a pretty big leap from the last two videos you've seen from us on this channel. We're all still locked inside and there are really only so many hours one can spend playing just Animal Crossing, though I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. Anyway, I've been occupying my time with a few other games as well, including my go-to late-night gaming treat/punishment, League of Legends. Okay, I know it's not a lot of people's favorite game, and honestly, it's not mine either. But if you have a group of friends that are alright goofing off and don't mind getting absolutely destroyed by a 15-year-old Yasuo one-trick, it's actually a pretty good time. You guys probably already know how I feel about the character design. It's like the biggest range of quality and art I've seen in any video game. To be fair, League is 10 years old, and a lot has changed since the game's conception. The new characters that have been released over the past couple of years are novel, interesting, and fun to play, and they have designs that tie in beautifully with both their lore and their gameplay styles. And even the gross old characters from a decade ago are starting to get some love. The League of Legends art team does an amazing job reimagining and redesigning characters so that they're not only visually more appealing, but they also translate better to a player how the character will interact in-game, as well as tie in more of the character's lore. Yeah, did you know that League has lore? I've been playing this game for about 6 years now, and not once did I think that there was even an ounce of thought put into the backstories of some of these characters. The old ones especially are so uninspired, so generic, that even if I knew that there were pages and pages of backstory written by the creative team, I don't think I would care to read it. Which is a shame, because a lot of the lore is actually pretty interesting. Let me give you an example. I just started playing Elise, a jungling champion whose default design is, well, less than exciting. I like jungling, but more than that, I love inhuman characters. Most of my mains can be described as such. I picked her up because I wanted to see what it might feel like to play as a sorceress who could freely transform from a humanoid to a full-on giant spider. And to my surprise, it was exactly as fun as I expected it to be. In fact, I had so much fun playing this character that I had to ask myself, why have I never tried playing her before? Well, the short answer is, her design never interested me. And when I say design, I just mean her visual character design. Not her gameplay, not how she plays, just how she looks. It's a big deciding factor for me when trying a new champion. Is this champion cool? And Elise, to me, just wasn't. The concept of an evil spider queen is just so overdone, and nothing about her default look tells me that she'll offer anything new to the trope. She's just a scary looking lady with red eyes, big boobs, and a couple of spider legs growing out of her back. Big whoop. To be fair, I like her Blood Moon skin a lot, especially the spider form. It's great, I just bought it. But focusing purely on her basic skin, the one that every player sees when they first learn about this character, there's just nothing there. The most disappointing thing about all of this, other than the fact that a poor design completely turned me off to a character I ended up really enjoying, is that her story is actually way more interesting than her design implies. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, it's not amazing, but it introduces some new ideas to the trope of the evil Spider Queen. And if you want to design a character with influences dating back to ancient Greece, whose basic concept has been explored over and over and over again over hundreds of years, you really need to be promising an audience that they're going to be getting something new from that character. For those of you unfamiliar with Elise's lore, I'll give you the cliff notes. Basically, Elise was born into a family of aristocrats in the Noxus Empire. Raised to believe that a woman's power came from seduction, she sought a wealthy, powerful husband and wielded his family's influence to bring herself fame and fortune. After a while, though, her husband got sick of being manipulated and tried to poison her over dinner. It almost worked, but as the poison rotted her flesh from the inside out, Elise managed to stab her husband and drink the antidote he was carrying moments before she succumbed to the toxins. She now had his entire family's estate to herself, but was robbed of her beauty and charm, something she accredited all of her success to. She withdrew to the now empty halls of this great mansion, leaving her home only at night, in fear that someone might see her now hideous visage. After a while, though, she fell into the favor of a group of individuals known as the Black Rose, and was accepted into their fold, despite her physical appearance. She was sent on a mission to the Shadow Isles to retrieve an enchanted dagger from an evil spider god, shocker, and while she was there, Elise was asked to feed the god a couple of poor suckers she shanghaied into coming with her. It worked out pretty well at first. The spider god ate the losers, she grabbed the knife, but then, if you can believe it, she managed to get bitten by the spider and fall onto the knife at the same time. Crazy, right? Well, as it turned out, it wasn't the worst thing that could have happened to her. The venom of the spider mixed with the poison already in her body, and all of that reacted quite nicely to the magics of the knife that she poked herself with. Her beauty was restored, her skin smoothed and polished like porcelain, and her youth rekindled. Side effects: spider legs growing out of her back, and an insatiable hunger for blood that required her to constantly consume human victims in order to retain her new look. It's a fun read. I'll link the full story in the description of this video if you guys want to check it out for yourself. The most interesting part of it to me, and I think the part that is most lost in her official design, is the importance she puts on beauty and how that vice influenced so many aspects of her life. So, with that in mind, I decided that I should give this character a new look of my own design, one that's not only visually more exciting, but fresh, new, and more connected to her character and backstory. I'll be including the process for my concept brainstorming, as well as the time-lapse for my final turnaround with this design. Now remember, I'm not changing anything about how this character plays in-game. This is just how she looks. I hope you enjoy my subjective critique and rework of Elise, the Spider Queen, and if you have any ideas of your own or just comments in general about her design, let me know down in the comments. Let's get into it. Enjoy. The first thing that I wanted to change about Elise right off the bat was her face. Nothing about this face is unique or exciting. There are so many pale seductresses out there with the red lipstick and the black hair. Even the little accents on her jaw feel reused. Reading her lore, I kept thinking about masks and how Elise, in a way, is always wearing one. Either she's manipulating her husband and the people he influences, or she's guiding a troop of naive, lost souls to their doom. Or even in a physical sense, when she regains her beauty through the venom of the spider god. The line describing her porcelain skin was the key influencer for my starting visual, and I immediately thought of Japanese geishas. The imagery of these painted ladies has been reappropriated time and again in a very subversive way, and it's kind of like how clowns have become more of a subject of horror than children's entertainment. Their unattainable beauty almost certainly implies something lying beneath the mask, some secret that remains untold. What's more, it introduces that element of seduction that is a key part of Elise's personality. The source material gave me a few options to play with in terms of hair, and I settled on something that looked like a large spider resting on the top of her head, with hairpins that mimicked twitching legs. I played with the idea of a face that looked as if it was made up like a geisha's, porcelain white with painted highlights that are actually part of Elise's skin. But I wanted this mask to conceal something physically disturbing underneath, so I segmented her face in ways that at first could just look like contouring or patterns with drawn makeup. But the closer you get, the more you see the cracks in the porcelain. What looks like drawn-on eyebrows are actually another set of eyes. Baubles in the hair? Yep, more eyes. The seams of the face would open up in several places, revealing rows of teeth and folding mouth parts, and I imagine this reveal would occur in-game when she uses her abilities in her human form. I felt this whole idea of a living mask, so to speak, paid more homage to her lore and personality, trying so hard to maintain her outer beauty that it almost becomes uncanny, and if you can't catch it quick enough, it's already too late. Spiders in real life take advantage of this tactic for luring in prey as well, with false eyes, camouflage, and the ability to mimic the behavior of the animal that they're hunting. It's that morbid ingenuity that I think people most associate with spiders. Cunning, manipulative, and resourceful, just like Elise. I should mention at this point that I didn't really make any changes to Elise's actual spider form. I feel like her spider form works well for the role it plays. It doesn't really need anything extra. I find that with things like fantasy bugs, the more you add onto them, the less they can be associated with the actual real-life animals and the connotations that they carry with them. Elise looks like a big, magical spider. Save for some changes to the color palette, I feel like this design could remain the same. If I were to make any changes, I would probably look at her Blood Moon skin for inspiration. That look is really cool. I would also like to throw some quick props to the animation team of League of Legends for creating an actual spider walk cycle. It looks really great and it feels appropriate for her speed and size. Now, with her full body design, there were a few things that I wanted to change. I wanted to continue with the theme of geisha to reimagine how seduction could look, and I wanted her silhouette overall to be more like a spider, and in general, I wanted her to look like a character no one had ever seen before. Now, you guys have heard me rant about this before, but so many of the female characters in League have big, exposed boobies, and while there isn't an inherent problem with that, I feel like it's something that can be rethought in modern designs. Elise is one of the characters where her sexuality is actually a big part of her lore, but there are so many other ways to convey seduction than just having prominent breasts. I felt a more subtle and fitting depiction of seduction was implied wealth, power, control, and, on a more physical side, some exposed leg. I mean, she's a spider, how are the legs not more of a focal point? I wanted to convey a little bit more just how scheming and manipulating Elise was, so I posed her weaving a web of enchanted silk. As I finalized the pose, I realized that an extra set of arms worked a lot better than I thought they would, and I could imagine them working the same way the face does, a second set concealed under her layers of clothing until the moment was right to strike. Part of her story explicitly described spider legs breaking out of her back, but I wanted to incorporate them in a somewhat different way from her original design. I already had her with 6 limbs, so I decided that I only needed one more set to sell the spider look. I played around with a few different silhouettes until I settled on a placement that I thought worked best. I shaped her robe so that her overall form would be much more spider-like, with the abdomen implied with the roundness of her coattails. As far as color goes, my main goal was to get away from the whole Black Widow theme. The Black Widow is an overdone theme with spider characters, with the killing of the husband and the seduction and the hourglass mark. We've all seen it so many times before. There are so many interesting spider patterns and colors out there that haven't been explored yet, and I wanted to focus in a little bit more on those. For the last part of this video, I'll include the process of this amazing splash art that Claire did of my Elise design. All of the League of Legends characters have a fully painted piece of splash art that accompanies them on their selection screen. I'm not that great at painting though, but fortunately Claire is. Enjoy the time-lapse of her process. Let's wrap it up by talking again about what I wanted to change about Elise's design and how I went about doing it. Firstly, I wanted to introduce some new visuals to the tired Spider Queen trope. Using influences from Japanese culture, as well as some alternative imagery from spiders other than Black Widows, I created something relatively novel. Second, I wanted to give new form to the theme of seduction. Instead of just being a curvy woman with big hips and exposed breasts, I thought a little bit more about what other things can seduce people: luxury, pampering, mystery, and so on. And legs, for you leg people out there. Lastly, I really wanted to give her whole look more of a spider-like shape, by changing her silhouette from just a woman's body with spider's legs to a form-changing robe in the shape of a spider, and I think I accomplished this. But I want to hear what you guys think. What would you change or add to Elise's design? Or do you think she's fine the way she is? Let me know down in the comments. I was also thinking about perhaps making this a series, picking other League characters I find boring and changing them up, so if you have any suggestions for new characters, let me know. Thanks for watching, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you all in the next video.
How long are we going to can? Cause this is hurting.
It doesn't, and you do it till you die.